Usually I don't. Okay, so sales gapped up for us. It was a social media swing. Um, it didn't have any news, but it did have the most volume um, Monday morning. And if we look at the daily here, not a whole lot of backlog prior to this gap up move here, and this kind of, pattern that it put in. So, if you're marking your daily levels, which is where we usually start on these, right? We had a clear level at 325, which had two daily pivots to go off of. And above that, there's not much else for reference, right? Um, 275 was kind of the next level down. It never really traded in that range, below 275. So 325 was the main level we had to go off of, and that was what we marked early pre-market. So, um, very first thing to notice here, um, the other pivot you mark is from the after or the pre-market push, which is prior to 7 a.m. Some people can trade this early, and so there is price action to trade here. Um, I am on TOS, so I have to wait until 7 a.m. By the dip. Can you not hear me? Can other people not hear me?
I can hear you. Can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
I don't want to go too far forward without.
BOFO, can you hear me?
Oh, hey Deb.
Okay. It's like, yeah, I can hear you fine.
My my headphones got turned down really low, so I almost couldn't hear you. Okay. Sorry, did I miss anything that you've already said, Deb?
Oh, I just said thanks for doing this and
Oh,
hopping in.
oh, yeah. Feel free to
And
chime
hi,
in.
everybody.
Yeah, hi
Yeah.
everyone. Feel free to chime in. I would love for this to be a group effort too. I don't want to just, um, you
Yeah,
know.
I actually have a question for you when you get done with this review, something I was going to ask Mikey today. So carry on. And
Okay.
I've
Is it
got
pertinent
a,
to cells?
no.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this chart and then we'll get to Deb's question. Um, okay. So we have 325 marked at this point. We're coming into 7 a.m. We also mark our 415 or 414 pivot high here from the pre-market push. So those are our two levels we really have to play off of. So right at 7 a.m., I have a personal rule that I don't play the first couple of 1 minute candles right at 7 a.m. because to me it's like a little mini 9:30 a.m. bell. You have all this influx of volume of brokers opening up, and so regardless of the previous price action, not that it doesn't matter, but it can get washed out really fast to either direction. So I've gotten faked out too many times thinking momentum was coming in for a push up only to get flushed on. So it's a personal rule of mine that I don't play the 7 a.m. stick. For that reason, I did not catch this move. So, however, you have a perfect 325 level. This has put in enough price action that VWAP holds a little bit of weight here. You have a flag on top of VWAP. If you look at this volume here, the VPA looks pretty good for a flag over VWAP. So definite opportunity here. I know some people caught this. It was a very good play if you did because of your levels, right? There's very little resistance over 325. You flagged above it. Volume came in. Lots of volume came in for the push. All the eyes were on this. There was nothing else to play at the time. Nice push up to 435. So after that, what do we have to play off of? We have our 414 level. We get a little bit of oscillation above that. If you're playing aggressive like Mikey, maybe you take a stab off of that 414 level. If you're very quick and reactive, not hesitating. Again, if you're taking this pullback here, you have to notice that you just double topped on the 1 minute at new highs. You do get a little bounce scalp up, but that's all. You can't be greedy in this setup. You got to take your bounce scalp, and when it comes back down to your level, you've got to take the cut. There's no reason to ride this down here. Um, let's see. Next, uh, what do you have to watch next after that? So you have this little flag that we put in, this 1 minute flag. Um, okay, let me back up a second. I remember this 1 minute flag. Um, Again, I don't play the first couple candles, and this didn't even give a mid candle pullback. Um, so I didn't take this either. I came into the new year wanting to be patient for the right setup, not get flushed on. This definitely could have pulled back more. Another great flag that you could have taken, but to me, there's too much downside risk to be buying up here for me to get in, so I missed this one too. Um, all right, so now that we've got a nice extended 5 minute here, we're looking for that 5 minute setup at this point. We want a healthier pullback if this is going to continue up. And so we kind of get our lower volume pullback on the one here. Um, we pull back up to this breakout range from the previous 1 minute. We get a little bear flag up. This still hasn't quite cooled off on the 5 minute, in my opinion, at this point. We're still above the VWAP and the ADMA, so I'm still waiting patiently. Um, I did take an entry down here when we got this little flash dip hammer candle on the 1 2 VWAP, because if you look at the 5 minute, this is where it was going to set up a 5 minute flag if it was going to. And you can see the VPA is there, volume descending, nice touch on the ADMA and VWAP. These are the ones that you can't hesitate on. When it comes and gives you that dip to that level that you've been watching, you got to take some. You got to give it a chance. And we're being defensive with our average. We're not going to let it flush on us, but this is where you are safely getting in. If you're getting in under this 380 level, you're safe. If you miss this flash dip and it starts, dancing around in here, look how many candles you have to sweat out price right next to your average. Um,
Hey, Bofo, did you have fishing orders in for that, or you just slap it?
that's a good question, and I don't remember. I've been I will tell you this week I've been more focused on slapping
Okay.
and less focused on my bids. I'll be putting small bids in, but I've had a few examples where prices flush through my bids and I get underwater a little more than I want to when I'm bidding. So I've been watching the tape in level two a lot more closely to kind of see, where I see the buying pressure reverse and buyers start to take over control, and then I'll slap in there and manage that risk accordingly.
Hmm.
It's been working for me recently, but you know, at this point, I think the other thing to keep in mind, Deb, is like 380 to me is not really a key level other than ADMA and VWAP here. So even though
Yeah.
the VPA is good, it's not key enough that I'm willing to put bids on the or yeah, put orders on the bid and give this 10 or 15 cents like I might if this was setting up over like 325, let's say.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I was slapping on this one and playing really defensive. So um, we had a chance for a flag to form here. Keep in mind, big moves already been made. There's been no news. That makes me a little more cautious than I would be on another play. So for that reason, I took profits quickly. When this got up above my average and, I made 10 or 15, 20 cents, I was taking profits. Um, I was mostly out of my, in fact, I was, yeah, I was 3/4 out of my position when we tested this previous high because um, we reject off of, we have a nice volume push up. We reject off the previous pivot on the 1 minute, that's 406. It doesn't get stuffed. This is a low volume pullback. It's not a stuff there, so it's worth staying with the trade. But then when this tries again, we've we've shown that this is now flat top resistance. This needs to start breaking on volume or it's not going to go. And so when this tries again and gets stuffed twice in a row and volume doesn't increase, and especially when we start to see a higher volume um, red candle stuff, this is your signal that if you bought down here, you need to be very small or exit. Um, and as you can see, our 5 minute setup didn't work out. We bear flag up to a VWAP pop again, and we just continue to sell off. So that was the pre-market action on this one. Um, I did not play. I don't think I played anything on this after because this is backside. Um, you could have played at the bell, I guess, off of 325. I did not. A rule of mine too is I don't play these open 5, 10, 15 minutes. Not 15 anymore. That's too much time. But these 5 or 10 minutes, I'm not going to get caught in the open volatility. There's just too much risk there, in my opinion. Um, okay. Any questions about the pre-market on sells?
So you actually could use this chart, for my question.
Okay.
Mikey made a comment to me during the week that, again, he loves the fact that a lot of people in chat are, finding 5 minute flags, calling them out. But he
Hmm.
made the comment that some people are definitely not getting the 5 minute flag, like what really is a 5 minute flag.
Yeah.
Um, and, I know he's got a lot of stuff, particularly in his first Twitch video, that people can go back and review. But I thought it would be really helpful just to kind of really talk through that. Like, how many candles, what are the specifics, um, that we're looking for,
Hmm.
with those flags?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. Um, this this is a 5 minute flag as we describe it. If you Google a bull flag, it's not it's not going to really show you this exactly. Like this is a more like I don't know, a limp. This is a more limp flag than what Google is going to show you as a bull flag. Google wants to tell you that a bull flag is something more like this.
And while BOFO's drawing that, I will say, the one that Mikey was particularly commenting on that people were um, pointing out was really more of a channel. That you had your stick, and
Hmm.
then you had channeling going straight across, and a bunch of people were calling out in chat, 5 minute flag, 5 minute flag. So I don't know if that helps you explain.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you remember what ticker that was?
I don't. I don't.
Okay.
I just remember when he said it, thinking, this would be great for the stream for him to kind of, you know, review again. Like
Yeah.
I not that long ago, like how many candles are you looking for? Like if it
Right.
just kind of continues in that pattern, when is it no longer, a setup? When you just like,
Right.
okay, it's just doing its thing, but it's really not doing what we thought it would. You
Yep.
know, and we're fortunate in that um we get to kind of talk about that stuff amongst ourselves, and so I thought I would bring it to you know to the
Yeah.
you know
It's a great
the
question, Deb. Great question.
everybody else to to be able to chat about. Although I will say Mikey, Bofo, a bunch of people are just super helpful and great about getting back to people in DMs. Take advantage of that while you can right now, because I tell you, once people catch wind of how great these traders are, like they're not going to be able to get back to everybody individually. So take advantage of it while you can.
Perfect question, Deb. And here's kind of a sideways consolidation flag like she's talking about. Now, so I will say it's not to say that these are not flags. Like this is definitely still a flag, but Michael will refer to these as a sideways flag. But the criteria that you want to see for a flag as we play them and as we call them is a strong volume push up. So let's look at the five. Strong volume push up. Do we have a strong volume push up? Yes. Strong volume push up. Do we have a lower volume pull back? Yes. Does it pull back enough to a key level? Kind of, yes. We have lower volume, stair stepping down. We have indicators coming up, our ADMA and our VWAP. Those are good levels. Now, if let's say 370 on the daily, like let's say there was a pivot up here at 370. If we saw that, or maybe some prior consolidation or something on the daily that would indicate to us that this is a key level. Or it could be our EMAs. Let's say we have our 200 EMAs that have, pulled down in here, and now we've just popped above them with strength, and we're pulling back and setting up on our 200 EMAs. Are we pulling back low volume and to a level? That's the other criteria. Strong volume push up, low volume pullback, two indicators in a key level. And what we're trying to buy is not, somewhere in this, we're not waiting and buying this stuff. We're buying this. Ah, work for me. We want to be in here. Um, this isn't a good example anymore. Hold on. We want to be in here. You get one, maybe two chances to get in on these 5-minute flags. We're not looking for this sideways consolidation for our A plus 5-minute flags. Because the way that these work, if you go back and study the charts that Mikey goes over in his stream, the strong ones give us a wick only and then they are gone. Other flags work and they might grind on top of this ADMA or whatever, but those are the lesser probability ones. The real strength pulls back once and goes. So 5-minute flags to us are strong flagpole on volume, lower volume pullback to our indicators and key levels, and then we go. Like to me, the flag is this. Let me hold on. I might need to share this a different way. I'll put it in the chat. Where is a good example of this? I'm doing an analogy here, guys. So
Hey, Bofo, I think you should also touch on the timing of 5-minute flags.
in terms of the close of the candles,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, good idea. All right, if you look at after hours chat, we're buying limp flags. we want we want a low volume pullback on limp flags. Not that these flags don't work, but our strongest ones have lower volume pullbacks that we get the very first dip. Okay, so the other question about the timing of the candles is a good one. We've started to notice, buyers like to step up as these candles are closing. Like if we see price coming down here and the last 15 20 seconds is when it gets sucked up, that's a really good bullish sign because as the next candle continues, we want to see that volume continue into the next candle for the break of the high of the previous candle, and then price to move. What I personally like to do with my own risk once I see that happen, I am not holding a position below this bottom wick anymore. Once buyers come in and they want to suck up and continue into the next candle, this is my new risk. I'm not going to screw around and wait for it to hold below this anymore. Um, I'll give you an example of that from Friday. Emrin. So we tested 5, we pulled back. This is a previous super runner. It had Amazon news. We come back low volume to the 5-minute ADMA. We wick through the ADMA here. If you look on the 1-minute, So, so look what happens here. We pull back, we're grinding sideways, we're getting sucked up off this 465 level, 460 to 465 level. This was your chance to take an entry off of the ADMA and VWAP. Good VPA on the 5-minute. Um, and then, we put in a 475 top on this 5-minute candle, and we're kind of bumping up against it. Nobody's taken the reins to either direction in this chop, so we're still undecided. You're still able to scoop dips in here. But at the end of this 5-minute candle and at the end of this 1-minute candle, what happens? Buyers come in for their attempted push with this volume. This closed red, but this volume was the attempted push by the buyers to go test 475. 475 was our key break. If we break over 475, instantly my risk becomes 460 at max because this is their attempted push. What happened? They get stuffed at 475. When they get stuffed at 475 on their attempted push, when they had, 5 or 6 candles to go for it and they finally did and they get rejected, that is your red alert to bail because that is getting shoved down. This is like this is like a Leroy Jenkins push right here. Like it's either going to work or it's not. So, good point on the timing of these. Look how this happened right at the end of this 5-minute candle and right at the end of this 1-minute candle, and that was a key time to be watching this chart. I've seen Mikey hold a position when that rip he was looking for didn't happen. So the 5-minute flies sunset. Can we go over why we would continue to hold and what we look for to continue to hold or cut? Yeah. So by the dip, um, every situation is different. Like we can never say rules that apply to exactly every single situation. Um, I will say that, like, okay, to walk you through this trade and how I looked at it in real time, as this was like, how much time do we have here? Like 15 minutes? We had 15 minutes in this chop. So what we've seen in the market recently is, these 5-minute flags, especially near the open, I've noticed, and I've gotten shaken out of a couple. They they can pull back more than you think they can and still be intact. Like think ATHE, MDRR, GNPX at the open. Like, um, so let's go back to that day that GNPX ran, and I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, okay. So at the open, look at this flag here. Here's your ADMA. Go back to it on the 1 as well. Now, here's why the key levels are so important. This 159 had established itself as a key level from pre-market and the daily, I believe. Yeah, so we had a pivot on the daily, this 159. We had clear resistance in pre-market at this 159. We get up over it, we lower volume pullback. Even though these candles have higher volume, the the daily was so key at this 159, and it was such a just the pullback just made so much sense um, right here. But take a look where the ADMA is and VWAP. It's up here at like 163, and look how many minutes you have under those levels where it would be easy to see like, oh, kill candle, I better get out. So I got shaken out on MDRR on a very similar setup a few days before. And because I studied that and because I beat myself up about it so much, I remember in this trade saying, I am not going to let that happen to me again. I'm going to give this key level a chance to work. Even though the VPA isn't quite as clean as we've seen on other charts, and even though this is under a couple of my indicators here, key levels are so important, and you can't just get hung up on VWAP and ADMA. You have to have your daily levels. You have to have your support and resistance levels and see that confluence in them and know how strong they are. So look, I mean, you guys remember this name. Like, look where it went from here when it held this level and reversed. So I had this in mind even when we were playing Emran. I remember this pulling back way more than I thought it was going to. MDRR pulling back way more than I thought it was going to. ATHE even. This one wasn't quite as clean, um, but these dips coming down below your ADMA, below even the 20, and still recovering. So I was sick of getting chopped up in those. So all that to say, um, when you have news and you have a lot of volume, unusual volume, key levels to play off of, a nice 5-minute VPA, a nice pullback on good VPA, those are the ones by the dip that you want to be more willing to go off your indicators to get that full size position with good ads down low. Now don't chase this inside the range. Don't buy in the middle of these chop ranges. If you've got to take a starter at 65 and then you're scooping on the bid or watching the level 2 to slap down here in the low 60s, that's fine. But like we've seen, I was prepared for this to pull back even to on top of 450. You've got psych support there at 450. 450 had established itself as a level for pre-market and after hours the prior day. 450 was a good level to go off of if the VPA pulled back appropriately to 450. So when Mikey says that he holds for some of those 5-minute patterns and gives it 10 or 15 cents, this is a situation where you might want to give it 10 or 15 cents while it's pulling back on low volume. Mikey is also so quick, though. You've got to watch this trade develop for yourself. And like I said, when it decided it was going to hold 460 and put this in, that's when you know that, okay, you're starting to see this is going sideways. There's a clear range here. 60 is my risk. When they made the Leroy Jenkins push and they didn't make it, that's your chance to bail. When they tried to test 470, the previous candle high, and they failed on high volume, this trade changes for me. I'm no longer waiting for this low volume pullback to come down here to 450 because they held 460. They decided they were going to hold 460 and go for it. And when they failed, you bail. It's no longer a hold for 450 anymore. Kind of rambled for a bit there. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, that was really good. I've got this is probably not gonna be something for the masses, but it's something that used to get asked in Bob's stream all the time. And the way your charts are set up, it just made me think of it. So a question he used to get all the time was about his volume profile and why you could have a red volume candle on a green candle. And it just was always funny that people again are trying to match them up, that like, hey, price action came down, but we had a green candle, and why don't those match up? So I bet you would make somebody's day if you explain that.
Yeah, I might need to ask that question too, actually, Deb, because like I don't have the volume overlay.
The answer is that it's comparing the volume to the candle before it. And so that was, but it doesn't always match. You can have price action going up, but you can have a red volume candle. But that doesn't really match up with yours. Now that I'm looking, it did on the chart before because I was thinking about that, because I think that is confusing to a lot of people. Like so I guess it depends on which volume profile you have pulled up down there, but you can definitely have like a red volume candle on a green price action candle.
So I used to have the volume overlay, and I know Mikey does on one of his candles where it's like how much sell volume versus how much buy volume, and maybe that works, but I've always been so skeptical of it, and it makes me like pause and think too much about it and try to analyze it. I've realized for myself. So, for me, I just like to have these, and I really don't pay too much attention to what color this is. Like, if this is telling me something by the colors, maybe it is, and maybe I do need to pay more attention to it, but I don't really. I am trying, if I'm actively watching this chart, I know the story of each of these candles, right? Like, so this is red volume, this is a red candle. But I know because I was watching this chart that the volume came in for the push up to 475. And, there was obviously stuff volume too, but buyers came in and tried here. I watched it happen, So I get less hung up on, oh, red candle, red volume stick, whatever. Like, there was a buy attempt here. There was a buyer push attempt here that got stuffed. So it does matter. It just, that's not an overlay that I use and put a whole lot of weight on. I need to watch the story of each candle unfold for myself to have confidence in it.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is like know what whatever volume study you've chosen, know why. I'm with BOFO. I love watching the average of the volume. More so than that the color of the candle.
Hmm.
But know what you've got. There's a million different ones you can choose from on TOS, or I'm sure other charting services. So, um, but yeah, that was just a question that always came up, and people were like, "Well, I'm watching the candle, and the volume candle is red, so I didn't buy, or whatever." And that's not necessarily, you know, the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something too, Deb. Like, I wish there was maybe there is a script for it, but I think it'd be really cool to see, like, you have your average line, your kind of like EMA almost for the volume that goes down here.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
like early in a candle, it's obviously not going to meet that, but that candle could be trending towards higher volume if it's the
Right.
beginning of a candle. Like, I almost wish there was a color study or something that would indicate in my candle bar or my volume bar as the candle's forming, like, hey, this is increasing faster than average,
Hmm. Hmm.
because
Hmm.
a lot of times what I have to do is look up to my clock and see where we are in the candle and then compare it to the previous candle and be like, is this high relative volume here or not? And that's literally what I do when I see these flash pullbacks. Like, was this week? Did it really run this week?
I think also, if you're watching level two, just as a down and dirty way, it's like how fast that level two is moving will also kind of
Hmm.
give you a feel for it.
Yeah, is the tape spitting out really fast? A lot of green, a lot of red. Are
Hmm.
they big
Hmm.
orders? Um, there was a day on Relly. Let me find this because I think it might have been. I think it might have been uh, 2 week or before the new year. Um, it was a day that Mikey caught like a really fast 1 minute flag pullback. Might have been this day. 7 a.m. I might be wasting too much time finding it, but it's a really, really good example.
You've got another good question here. It said Mikey previously said not to average down, and just to re-add, how do you know when to cut versus average down? Great question.
Yeah, great question. I'll just tell you quickly what I was going for on this. There was a flag, and Mikey like hammered the quick pullback to it, and the point being, he was able to see in real time that the volume on that pullback was so low in comparison to the other. Even though it looked like a knife kill candle type candle, he had so much confidence in it because he quickly saw, okay, this candle's about to close, or he saw what time it was and how much time was left in the candle, and he saw that move down in relation to the candles before it was so low. That's what gave him the confidence to slap that. If that candle shot up in volume and he saw big orders on the level two, he would not have slapped with so much conviction on that pullback. He would have waited and watched the level two settle, watched the tape settle, and seen if that was on a key level first. So it's really important to see where you are in the candle, how much volume is flowing through in that push down. If it's a kill candle on high volume and see that volume stick shoot up, tread with caution. If you see it flush down and you're still down low, around your previous candles or somewhere near your average, those are the ones that you want to scoop up really fast. You're buying everyone else's fear at that point. Okay, averaging down. Yeah, so I'll go back to kind of what I was talking about here. Um, You should only average down when you have planned prior to your trade to average down. And what I mean by that is, like, okay, I'm stalking Emran. Sorry to be using Emran, but it's just a really good example for a lot of this stuff. So I'm stalking Emran, and I see my ADMA coming up. I'm seeing my VWAP coming up. I have a 460 pivot. I know that 450 is extremely important too. So my trade plan might include, okay, I'm going to buy a starter. I see it come down. It's not quite as low as I want yet. I want it to get down to at least 460. So maybe I put a bid at 460. Um, why is this not letting me? Extended hours must be a limit. Oh, because it's under. All right, so let me wonder how I can do this. Yeah, let me see if I can make this work. Let's say, like, okay, I want to start buying at 460, and so I have a bid down here at 460. and it starts coming down, and I see it start to oscillate around this range. It starts to scoot back up. You have 1 minute candles making new highs. Um, we have this pivot here at 470 to play off of too. Um, volume is still low in here, so okay, now I see this starting to settle back up. Maybe this isn't going to pull back all the way, because the really, really strong ones, if you've noticed, guys, if we're playing off a pivot or something, like a lot of times you're not going to get fills right at your pivot or right at your level. The really, really strong ones are reversing, 2, 3, 4 cents above that. Buyers can't contain themselves and they're just jumping in and overwhelming the sellers. So sometimes you can't get your perfect exact ads. So like let's say after I see this happen here, okay, now I need to take a starter at 460 or 465, I'm sorry. So maybe I still have my bids here at 460, and maybe I know that 450 is really a key level, and so you have to let this trade unfold for you real time. So maybe I think, okay, I still want to buy at 460 because I think I'm going to get heavier down here, but maybe I have my starter now at 465 once this starts to oscillate around. I'm keeping an eye on volume and VPA here. But my plan is I'm going to buy starter 465. I'm going to get heavier at 460. Maybe if the volume's right and we haven't made our push and it's still low volume, I'm going to really get heavy down here around 450, low 450s. So these are the examples when you want to average down. This when you have a plan ahead of time based on your key levels is when you want to average down. Now let's say I was going to add 250 here, I was going to add 750 here, and then I was going to add another 1500 here to get up to 2500 shares, let's say, just as an example. You want to get heaviest at the bottom near your max risk. Like for me, I was wanting this 450, maybe 456 or 446 to hold. If I'm starting to add here, I get a little heavier here, what happens? My average is probably like 462 at this point. If I'm getting the most heavy down here at 450, what's my average? Maybe 455. So then if I'm going to give this thing 10 cents because it's a strong 5-minute flag, the good VPA is there, I have a key level, I know this is a former super runner, it has news, it checks all my boxes, that's when I'm willing to average down, get heavy, and then give this thing maybe 10 cents, and I've got to accept that risk up front. That's when you average down, and you're at your heaviest at the bottom, so my average is maybe 455. If I'm risking 445, that's my 10 cents, so my risk is fine. And look how much upside potential we have. This could have easily held, reversed, and gone and broke 5. So this is a situation you average down. If you're buying the micro pullback on this strong push to 5, anticipating the break of 5, and you start buying at 485, 480, that's not a situation that you average down into this 470, 474 pivot, 470. I mean, look how much downside you have. You have to know your trade ahead of time. Um, knowing that you're like, don't average down after you've already decided that you're anticipating the break of 5 is my point. Like, average down when you plan to ahead of time. Uh,
Can I add on that real quick?
yes.
Another thing with averaging down is like you have to be patient for your average downs. And what I mean by that is like don't just average down because the price keeps coming down and you're just like, oh man, if I
I
keep averaging
believe.
down, all I have to do, is get a little bit of a bounce and then I'll break even. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong mindset. Um, be patient and wait for it to tell you like there is still some strength there. There still is some buyers. Um, because my biggest loss I've ever had, and I'm sure BOFO and others can attest. If you just average down, sometimes it just will not give you that bounce that you're looking for, and
Mm-hmm.
you will dig yourself a very deep hole. So you just have to be strategic. Wait for the stock to tell you it. It does have a chance of coming back up.
And I'm going to add to that the same, exactly the same thing is true with swings. You guys know that I like to swing a lot. And one of the biggest mistakes I made when I got into all of this, in 2021 was I was following a lot of social media calls. You know, I mean, Wish is a perfect example. You know, there's a million examples out there that, like, everybody on social media is all over it and it just keeps going down. And you're like, I'm just going to keep adding. I'm just going to keep adding, average down my cost. And some of these things, like Herb was saying, they just don't bounce. It's like let it, you got to let it kind of find that bottom, without just hoping, like, I know it's going to bounce, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, don't average down to save your failed trade. That's a big rule of mine. If you guys remember, I had 6 weeks of green straight in August into September, and when I basically gave it all back in one trade, it was by averaging down, refusing to be wrong on INDP, because look at this. It was relentless. No bounce. So it happens. Don't do this. Plan your trade. If you decide that you're going to average down and it's planned ahead of time and the VPA is there, that's fine, and you're going to give it 10 cents and you accepted that risk, that's fine. Obey it. Do not average down further than you have to. Follow your trade plan that you set out with to begin with.
And something that I struggle with in small caps is I expect there to always be logic, and there's
Yeah.
there is there's not always logic. I have to find the ticker from last week, but there was a play that had news, every cancer news, and spiked up, and then it died, and it was like, okay, it's gonna reverse, and I do like to play a lot of reversals. Um, that thing backed up and went below its, it, you know, its starting price before the news came out. Like, and it never bounced after that. It made literally no sense. It's not logical. So that is one thing that I really, really struggle with small caps. There's just not always logic behind it, and you can think you're smarter than the market, and you're going to get burned.
Hmm. Yep. That's exactly right. You never know what's going on behind the scenes of some of this stuff. Like maybe I read news and I'm like, "Oh, this is great news. Like this has got to run for sure." But you never know what institution is already in huge on this thing, just waiting for the liquidity to dump out of. You never know, um, you know, like all that stuff can be going on behind the scenes, and unless you've really done your fundamental due diligence, which, let's be honest, the type of trading we do, most of us haven't. So you got to trade price action. You got to let all these clues indicate to you what's going to happen. I mean, I'm like Deb. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this checks all my boxes. This has to do this, and then it doesn't, and I take a bigger loss than I need to. Whereas that's something that Mikey's so good at. Like that dude adjusts on a fly. He is so willing to be wrong and cut that he never gets caught in that stuff. I mean, here's a prime example. Look at this VPA, man. Like HGSH, granted it had no news, we should have taken note of that. But look at this VPA on this, riding this 5 minute lower wicks, just wicking through it. I mean, it doesn't get better VPA on this push up and lower volume pull back. I took a bigger loss than I should have because I was like, man, this has to get bought up. Like, there's just no selling in here. But, I should have taken note of this. Another attempted push. I mean, it held down here on the ADMA. We even established a little trend line on the one. It tried right there, granted on no volume, but it tried. And then when it failed, I should have cut rather than taking a loss down here in the 80s. Let's see. Oh, you asked about this by the Deb HGSH. Faded all day and ran no highs end of day after hours. Say it pulled back to the candle I circled. See what you're talking about here. So you're talking about intraday. So somewhere in here. And what's your question about this? But would you say it pulled back to the candle I circled? Sorry, what's your question about this, by the way? give by the dip a chance to type here because this I have this chart pulled up. Herb in this house, herb in this house.
Am I requested?
Oh no, I was just singing because someone said that in the chat.
Oh,
You got a shout out.
oh.
People love you. Are you feeling better?
Uh, no,
Sound a
I
little
mean,
rough still.
yeah, I'm still going through it, but
Aw. We're
hopefully on the back end.
thinking good thoughts for you. One thing I want to chime in. From what Bofo was talking about. Everybody has to remember. This is a probabilities game, and you know, depending on your risk reward, you can be wrong more times than you're right and still be profitable. But the way that happens, and one of the things that has really slapped me in the face since we kind of started voice and getting to know these guys, Thiz and Herb and Bofo and Mikey, it's like they review, they back test. Mikey, I joke with him about it. Anything he says, like Mickey Mouse is great. Did you back test it? But as good as they are and as profitable as they are, sorry, they are still going back to see what actually worked for them. What are the setups that worked for them? What percentage plays, uh, you know, work for them, because it's going to be different for everybody. Not everybody likes the same setup. Not everybody has the same criteria. So that has really been, again, I think a lot of us that get into this, we tend to be smart people. We think we're smart, and sometimes that can hit you. Like
Mhm.
you gotta put that extra work in. Just because you're profitable or you're making good trades, you can get better. And I really think the way to do that is in reviewing and back testing, like what trades actually worked for you and what is not working for you, and know where those percentages are.
Yep. Yeah, I was I was talking about this with someone this week actually, Deb. Like, if you're someone who's good at math and you've always grown up and like it's clicked naturally for you, in my opinion, that can be a hindrance to you in trading when you're starting to trade and backtest your
Totally
strategies.
agree.
Because like, what is math? You have a given criteria, and when you have it, the answer always 100% of the time comes out to the correct answer. But in trading, you could check all the boxes, have all the criteria, and it still is not going to 100% come out like you
Yep.
expect it to. So you're probably more inclined to take more losses and refuse to be
Hmm.
wrong. And even if it's
Yep.
just hesitation, that's all that it takes.
Yeah. And again, no matter how smart you are, the market doesn't care. And I play that in my head all the time. When I'm cheering on a stock, I'm cheering on a candle. I'm like, come on, you can do it. Come on. It's like the market doesn't care. It doesn't care if it takes your money. It has no feelings. It has no emotions. Um, and we talk about keeping emotions out of trading, but the same thing also comes in with, again, we want to be right, and nobody likes to be wrong, and that's the thing that you're fighting psychologically in the market, is you just have to accept it, um, and know that you're not smarter than the market.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with probabilities.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And when you're back testing, you might come to several conclusions. Like when we're going back and looking at stuff, it's not like every failed trade I'm going to look at it and be like, why was I wrong? I have to have a reason for why I was wrong. No, maybe it checked all my boxes and it just didn't work. Sometimes it might be a good trade that just went against you. Other times, maybe you do realize something like, oh man, I really should have paid attention to that. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily don't take that trade next time, but you kind of remember over time that, like, hey, this has bit me a handful of times in the past few weeks. Like, I definitely need to be more cautious about this one. So you start to get a sense for like which of these things are biting me more than others. Is it names with no news? What is it?
Real quick, kind of going back to what Deb was touching on, kind of going over your trades. BOFO and I both use two different journaling slash trade review softwares. Um, what is it? Trader View
Mm-hmm.
and Trading Sync, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Trader
The
Sync and
names,
Trader
the
Sync. Yeah.
Trader Sync,
Yeah.
Trader Sync, and Trading View. Man, they're like so interchangeable. But each of these kind of is better at one thing than the other. Trader View um, works really well to tell you like what time of day you're best and worst at, and maybe even like what day you have most of your losses on. Um, that kind of data. And then the trading sync, uh, you can categorize all of your trades um, into your own custom category. So they call them mistakes, and you can pretty much, when you go back to review your trade, you can create a category. So say your mistake was, you're trading it while it was under VWAP. So you throw it in that under VWAP category, and then maybe it also had no news. So as you input your data over time, you will start to realize, man, like I'm losing a lot of money on these trades that are under VWAP, or what I make the most money on is this, and so it's really helpful to like over time see where the majority of your mistakes are, or at least where your bigger winners and bigger losers are. Um, and you can also go back and on your week or month or year and see what your biggest winners and what your biggest losers were. And it's really important to study those because you'll just learn a whole lot about what uh, what really went wrong and how to avoid it in the future.
Yeah, that is big time, and like Herb will tell you because Herb's my mentor, and every time I'm struggling, he's the first person I reach out to. When I went and studied my last 6 months of 2021, I noticed that mid to large caps, 5 of my top 10 losers for the last 6 months were mid to large caps and options, and they amassed for a huge amount of losses against my P&L, which if I had just never touched them at all, like the narrative of my last 6 months of trading would have been entirely different. So knowing that and setting rules for myself coming into 2021, I have a much higher level of confidence for myself. If I'm disciplined to my rules, to how that's going to play out for me, even if I make no improvements from there at all. So it's little things like that that are going to be, you know, huge for you. The other thing I want to touch on when it comes to um, reviewing your trades and some of the tools that we use. If you're listening to us talk about this and be like, wow, that sounds like a lot of work, going in for each trade and tagging things and, studying all of this for each trade, you have to realize, and it took maybe a year or year and a half to realize, like, this is not like some video game that you're going to get pretty good by playing every now and then. You're stepping on the court with LeBron James day one. There's no beginner level to this. And you got to realize that the people that are successful at this, they're going the extra mile. They have wanted it more than everyone else. There's no shortcut around this. You've got to really dig in and put in the work and get meticulous about this, because imagine the people that are, you know, working on this and how much effort some people are putting in, and they're the successful ones. If you want to be among that group, there's no way around joining the hard work that they're putting in. There's just not. So, something to keep in mind, something to be honest with yourself about. Like, how bad do you want it? How much work are you putting in to get it?
You know, there's something too that came to my mind when Herb was talking about, his stuff. But um, for those of you, I think most people know Rodessa. I absolutely love that guy. I think he's just an amazing trader. But he said something that I literally wrote down, and I'm trying to keep it in front of me. I'm a perfectionist, and that is not necessarily a good thing in trading. And this is what he wrote. He said, "Are you a perfectionist? That shit won't fly. You're gonna lose, but you can lose in a perfect way." I absolutely love that. It's like, um, BOFO, I think you were talking about that last week. You basically said, like, maybe you had some losing trades, but you followed your rules, you followed your plan. And over time, again, if you're doing the back testing, if you know what works for you, you're going to be profitable even with losses. So, that for me, it's like you're going to lose, but you can lose in a perfect way. That just really, really resonated with me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a game changer. That's actually a game changer for me coming into this year. Like, you know, knowing exactly what my rules are and have really done the work to backtest strategies and know what my criteria are to where I'm getting quicker and quicker and less hesitation and feeling like I'm able to capitalize now. Like, for example, for my week last week, I reviewed all those trades yesterday. I took 70 trades. It's a lot. Maybe over time I want to have less than that and really, key into the higher probability ones. But out of those 70 trades, there were five that I was unhappy with. Obviously, I didn't win 65 trades. There were a lot of losers in there, but I was fine with taking those trades. They were good setups. I managed them correctly. There were five that I'm beating myself up over, and I'm gonna really, focus on those things to not repeat again. Okay, let's see. We've got this chart still up here for buy the dip. He says, uh, gave up on the trade after losing that 5 minute flag, and I guess you're talking about pre-market. After the key level is something you keep on watch for the key level bounce. Yeah, so okay, we have orb here. There's the open high, which was also, a clear level from pre-market here around this 270. So it opened lower. This thing had no news, sold off, started to grind back up. We get a little wick above, stays alive. Finally, the script flips when volume comes in above this 270. Like, yeah, that's a key level, but break this down into all your criteria, right? Like, if you're insinuating that you might have tried to capitalize on this, identify how or why is this a setup for you? Like, even though I see a big move and a big candle here, I don't go back and look at this chart and be like, oh man, how do I catch that next time? Because I see that this name had no news. It already dumped on me once. I already took a loss on it. This is still backside. Before that candle comes, this is still backside. There's nothing in here that is going to entice me to take this trade. In fact, this is just resistance at this point on no volume whatsoever, no news. Why would I be in for this? Like, the fact that this shot up, I don't know. I don't know why it happened, and I don't care. Once it did, and now we have active volume and we're above key levels, and there's fresh momentum indicating that this backside is now gone. Okay, maybe then I start to look at, okay, here's a key pivot level. Could have taken a little stab off of that because you got this little pop up. Again, quick scalps because, you know, until this establishes itself with a couple of legs and breaking these new highs, it's still kind of backside to me. This isn't, you know, freshly through these levels. And what happens? It dies off again on high volume. So, um, yeah, it made a move, but make sure that you see a setup that you want to take prior to the move that indicates why you want to get into it. Don't just be attracted to it because it made a move, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question by the dip. But yeah, your point about the key levels is a good one because orb was there, clear level from pre-market here. I mean, you can see how it behaved against the levels, and that is worth taking note of. So yeah, maybe here, maybe at the end of the day, if you saw this flag here, like that's VPA right there. You have a high volume push up, lower volume pulled back with a wick, perfectly off of the 295 pivot. If you were watching this thing, yeah, maybe worth a stab. You even have a trend line confluence to play off of right there. When you see that get sucked up, yeah, maybe you play that. So these are the things that you want to look at for your studies and back testing is like how much confluence is in there? Like what could I have seen in this setup to give me confidence that this has a high probability to look up? And how do I establish my risk? How did it behave against my levels? Just more data for the mental bank to give you confidence and quickness for the next time you see these setups. Okay, run in the morning, fatal day. Miki says a lot of the daily runners just run in the morning, then fatal day. When do you have the confidence to jump in on the run up in the mornings after a close over the main EMAs confirming the morning flush is over? Yeah, I kind of segment my pre-market action and my open bell action apart from each other. Like in pre-market, we're looking at the gappers, we're looking to see if they have news, we mark our daily levels, and then we wait and see where the volume comes. We want to be trading where the volume is, especially in pre-market. Things are slow enough that usually in a market like we have right now that's not the hottest, like maybe one or two things are going to have the eyes, and that's where the volume and the push is going to come. So we want to be there for that. Um, when they fade all day, I mean, yeah, once 9:30 bell hits, I'm kind of wiping the slate and waiting to see like, okay, where are the buyers? Where's volume coming in? Mark my key levels and watch for the low volume pullbacks of those key levels. So that's what I'm looking for, Miki, is, you know, prove to me that you're a strong name. Give me the VPA I want to see on top of my indicators and on top of my levels. Um, if something makes a morning flush, I'm not just going to try to find the bottom on the morning flushes. I want that to if it's okay, the caveat to that is this a daily setup? Is this holding a lower trend line on a daily wedge? Is this, something that has had extremely high volume a couple days ago and the past couple days has had lower volume, like BTCS? Like that's why Herb was interested in that. Like you might take a morning flush on something like that, playing the daily pattern, but make sure that you're executing your trade according to a daily setup and not according to a momentum setup. So the way that you would execute those trades is totally different. Um, Hopefully, I kind of answered some of that question there, Miki. Um, Catching up on chat here. Um, how do you determine we're now on the backside of the trade from a pre-market runner versus it spiking at open and I get excited, then it fades 10 a.m. onwards? So backside is just, has it broken its initial volume push trend? Okay, for example, HGSH makes a big push, still intact, still putting in higher lows here, wedging. you know Once this dumps and breaks its trend line and gives us a bear flag and rolls over, like that's establishing backside for me. For us to want to play this again, it needs to do something like this. We need to get a stick of fresh volume that's significant volume, and I don't know if that's coming from, it could come from social media. It could come from a PR. It can come from, you know, shorts getting underwater, break of key levels, which is maybe what this did. We need fresh momentum, but it's still technically backside because it's still within the range of the initial push. Now, if this got over here and had high volume push above this and is now pulling back to it, that's fresh momentum. That's no longer backside. Like now, if you zoom out, now that's continuation of a larger trend. Um, When you swing, trailing stop. Yeah, Deb's got a question about swings. Um, Major exchanges at topping volume has helped me identify that. Always look for that freakish high volume around 11, 12 a.m. or so. Yeah, let's look at, now this is like a more mid-cap name, so a little bit different, but like, you know, think about gravity even. Like when these things push up, like when this gets like almost vertical, like that's only got staying power for so long, and like this would have been even more powerful if you like think about the psychology of it too, right? Like if you look on the daily, for this thing. You had a trend line coming down. You had prior daily pivots. You had 200 EMA. So you have a lot of reasons that there's resistance up here anyways. And look how extended this thing got. Like look how far from its 20 EMA on the 5 it is. Like what's happening here is like maybe you get some short stopping out. Like they're probably going to have their stop losses right above the previous daily pivots. That's adding to the buy volume. Shorts covering FOMO chasers, but very quickly, you're going to have people taking profits. The shorts are no longer, the short covering is no longer adding to the buying pressure. You have the smarter shorts coming in with the bigger size. There's a lot of things that's going to play into that exchange action taking place. So yeah, to Miki's point, that can indicate the top of a push. It can indicate a place to get short. It can indicate a trend change. Only one trade away from being humbled is exactly right, Miki. That's a really good point. Um, and this is a focus for me coming into the new year is discipline in everything, and that includes my diet and my exercise. I've learned about myself. If I'm honest with myself, I'm an all-in or an all-out person. I don't do moderation well, and the way that does me a disservice in my trading is if I sacrifice one of my rules or I break one or if I decide to gamble on one play, that usually opens a floodgate for me. It's very difficult for me to do that only once. I need to be a super strict, no cheat person with my plan. And as I've come into the new year, I'm trying to, focus on all elements of my life, thinking that that's going to bleed into my trading as well. Because Miki's exactly right. You're one trade away from being humbled. You can just wreck yourself. You can, give up all your gains from the past week, 2 weeks easily on one trade if you break your rules. And that accounts for everything. If you have a rule that I only trade swings out of this account and I only do day trades out of this account, don't trade a swing on your day trade account. Don't trade a day trade in your swing account. Like those things will bleed over into other areas and you'll break other rules as well.
And that can even be with the ticker. BOFO, you were joking about in chat, that you won't trade Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
I won't trade fun. I've had a few wins with fun, but I lose way more often with that stock. I don't know why, but it's just a thing. So people were dropping that name last week. I was like, I'm not even looking at the chart. I don't even want to see it.
Yep. Yeah. Guess what? One of my 5 trades is that I'm mad about from Friday. I took it was small. I took paper cut losses on it, but I tried to trade little scalps on Tesla, and it went against my rules. And that is the one trade that I am most pissed about from last week. It's not even that the setup was bad. It's not even that the idea was bad. It's like I said I wasn't going to trade Tesla, and I'm not going to trade Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to know there are certain stocks that, for whatever reason, may not work for you. So it sounds silly, it sounds dumb, but yeah, I will not trade fun. Like, I'm done with it.
I have something to add on rules. I posted a tweet the other day saying like
I thought
most
you
of
were
the
coming
time.
in to say it was pun, but go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm not here to troll, Deb. I'll do that on your time.
Okay.
Um, but most of the time when I see people post big losses or red days, they're saying, "Oh, I didn't follow my rules. I overtraded." Um, all of these excuses. And what happens when you did the same thing, but you had a good result? You had one of your better days when you broke your rules. Like, think of trading as a kind of like a science experiment. If you're constantly, choosing whether to follow your rules or not, um, like you are letting too many variables change every single day to ever understand where you are actually going right and where you're going wrong. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is keep your environment um, relatively stable and test things out, one day at a time or one trade at a time while following your rules, while not overtraining, and see where that takes you, because you really are not going to be able to find out where you're going wrong if you're constantly changing your mind about when you want to follow your rules and when you don't.
Spot on.
And you're creating bad habits. And again, this is about being consistent. It's about being able to replicate, things that work over and over again. Um, and that's something else that, one of the traders that I follow, says, like, it's not a good trade for him if he can't replicate it. Doesn't matter if he made money on it, doesn't matter if he lost money on it. If he can't replicate and predict, the same strategy, then it's not good.
Hmm. um, a big takeaway for me, speaking of rules from last week, is, and you guys, some of you may have seen my habit tracker that I've been posting in Twitter and on the New Year, New Me thing. Um, the end of my week, I can look back and sense how the mental fatigue started to set in and how I was much more likely to boredom trade or much more likely to, you know, um, break some of those rules just because of mental fatigue. So, sometimes, a rule might be more, less about technicals, less even about charts. It's just knowing yourself. So a focus for me this week is, be aware of that mental fatigue setting in, like be aware of when I'm more likely to break rules and not.
Yeah, and or it could just be how you're feeling on a particular day. I had, just a lot of personal stuff going on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, and it's something that RCB has said to me over and over again. And he's like, you can't be emotional in trading. I'm like, I'm not. And he's like, well, when you're, super emotional about your personal life, it will bleed over into your trading. I was thinking, no, it doesn't. And I had to really go back and look at Tuesday and Wednesday because I made just some stupid decisions. And I was like, why did I do that? And it really just came down to I was in a bad place mentally Tuesday and Wednesday. I probably shouldn't have even been trading. And, that's a big takeaway for me. It's like, find those things for yourself, whether it's a pattern, a time of day, time of the week, or just, when you're not in the proper mindset to trade. Um, you know, those things are all super important.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Agreed.
This.
Hi.
What's up, buddy?
I'm just
Hi,
poking
hi,
my
hi.
head in.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hi, 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 hi.
We've got
Just your head? We want all of you.
Just a tip.
Okay, here we go.
We're doing an impromptu after hours chat since Mikey's not feeling well. Let's see what other questions we got, guys. This has been good.
This has been great. Thanks, Bofo, for hopping on to do this. And Herb stopped by. Now we got Fizz here. Like, it's a party.
Yeah, baby. That's why this community is awesome.
Yeah, I just woke up.
I can hear it.
Mikey's not feeling good?
Yeah. I think he just had. I think the kids were exhausting today.
Oh, okay. So not like COVID or anything?
I think he just said he had a headache.
Okay. This COVID shit over here is crazy, man. Like, everybody's getting COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, since Mikey's already had it and he's vaxxed and all
That's
that.
kind of where I'm at, too. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, hopefully we've already had it. We're good. What are you guys talking about?
We have talked about a little bit of everything. We talked a lot about 5-minute flags. We talked about volume. We talked about rules. We talked about
Ooh, I have one.
psychology. What's your
I
rule?
have a question.
Yes.
Where are we typing questions and shit right now?
An
After hours chat.
AH review floor.
Okay. If you guys that are listening right now, if you guys commented on my Twitter post and you're in this chat right now, will you do me a favor and like put an eggplant on this? I'm sure it'll be not a lot of people, but if you were, I want you to eggplant this. Okay, fuck. I feel like people are gonna see that and put an eggplant and just to put an eggplant. Okay.
Just because you're the
Put
eggplant
Yeah,
king.
hold on.
Like,
Put a Pikachu, guys. If you put a Pikachu. If you commented on the post.
we just like to click, you know. We're just clickbait.
There's really 10 of you, 11 of you people?
Dude, sometimes I click on emojis just because I like to.
Yeah,
Wait, am I tripping? Like for
I've got
real though?
I've got some stuff to talk to you about with that later, Fizz. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, will you guys actually type something? Well, I can see your names in the reaction. Never mind. We're good. We're good. Okay. Wow, I really didn't think that it was gonna be that many of you. I'm like, what the fuck? I thought maybe like 2 or 3 people, and I could just be like, all right,
You know why? You know
instant
why?
winners.
Because these are the real ones. These are the ones who are here
Well, that's what
on
I'm
a
saying. Like,
Sunday
you know,
morning, putting in the work. Like, I'm
those are the
impressed.
people I think should be, given back to. Like the
Yeah.
people that are putting in the work, the people that are actually here, the people that are actually studying, and I'm sure a lot of these people are expecting the Mikey stream too, but like they still stayed to try and get something. Like it's
They
nice.
did, and you know what? I think this has been awesome. I mean, I love Mikey's streams, and they're great. This was, a little bit different, and I think it was awesome, and it's just great to, you know, hear all the different perspectives. I had a question I was going to ask Mikey to go over in his stream today. I asked BOFO, probably get a little bit different answer, and that's great. Like, pick everybody's brains, get a little bit out of each one, and find what works for you.
I could not comment because I could not see the tweet. It's because you don't follow me, huh, Dick?
Yeah, dick.
I'm just kidding.
And it's locked now, so
You do? What the hell? That's really weird. I only locked it because I didn't want people just like following me and coming in and commenting just to get free shit. You know what I mean? Like I wanted it to be for the people that have been here
yeah.
since like
Hey,
I don't know, a while.
since we're just hanging out, I have a question, for everybody who's listening and for Bofo, Biz, Herb. So I, you know, I was just thinking that it would be a really cool thing for us to do our own kind of little trader spotlight, where we could hop in chat or, we could do it on YouTube. We could do it on different platforms. I don't know where, but just where, maybe every couple of weeks, you know, sit down and talk to one of our leaders, one of our traders, people who've had a lot of success and just pick their brains about where they started. And I know a lot of it's out there already. I mean, Fizz is all over the place on podcasts and things like that. But I was thinking it'd be cool just to kind of do, for the people within our community. I don't know. Would you guys like that? Is that helpful? Anybody?
Are you wanting to be the host?
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I'll chat to everybody. I just,
I
so
think you
many.
would be a better host than a lot of other podcast hosts.
Well, I'm not looking to make it like a podcast, but I do think we could record them and have them, where people could go back. Different personalities resonate with different people, and
Yeah.
maybe when Bofo talks, it reaches one segment, and when Fizz talks, it reaches somebody else. It's like,
When
I think it
Bofo
would be.
talks, all the people that are bald, they're just like, I get this guy.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't checked out, the New Year, New You channel, like you can see half naked pictures of Bofo in there. So if you haven't gone
Oh
in there,
no, dude.
Oh
like you
my
go
gosh.
check it out.
Come on,
Um,
No,
guys.
I really do think you would be a great host. So I'm
oh,
not capping there.
well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really thinking of like hosting. I'm just thinking, just to pick people's brains. Like, where did you get started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did the impetus come? Like, nobody just wakes up one day and is like, oh, I've heard of this thing called the stock market. I think I'm going to check it out. Like how people always want to know, like, what was your path? Where did you really start? And I think in a lot of the podcasts and things like that, they don't really get into the nitty gritty of that. Like, what did you start watching? What did you start reading? Who did you talk to? And what did
Uh-huh.
that's the kind of thing I'm more interested in. And I just think it would be kind of cool to do it one on one and, have it out there for the community. And, um,
Yeah.
I think it would be cool. I don't know if you guys
I
think it
like
would
it,
be worth
Deb.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be long or big,
Right.
but
Exactly.
sometimes I think about like, voice
Yeah.
is a big thing for
Oh boy.
you guys get your minds out of the
That's
gutter.
what
Come
she
on.
said.
Where's your brain at today, Thiz?
Well,
I
but
just woke up, so I'll give you a guess.
sometimes I think about
So,
sometimes I think about voice and like it's a big part of real ones, right? And like I think sometimes people don't know who's talking, and some like I want people to know
Hmm.
that I am not in the same place as Mikey when I talk on voice,
Right.
And
And it
so,
gets confusing. I mean, we had Fappy get sick this week and he sounded a lot more like Zen and then we had Zen who sounded like I don't even know what that was when his
Like
voice went
God.
deeper. Like so, but maybe we'll try one or two of them and see what kind of reaction we get. But yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
just
I'm
thinking,
I'm down for whatever idea you come
yeah,
up with. I support it.
all right, cool.
I'm trying to figure something out because I didn't expect literally 50 fucking plus people to be like, "Yeah, I want a one-on-one," and I was just like, "Damn, dude!"
Yeah,
Like,
I
bro,
knew
I
that
yeah,
was going to
expected
happen as
more
soon
than
as you
that.
said it.
I'm
I
like, "What
want
do
a
I
one-on-one.
do?"
Yeah, pick me.
It's like that's a lot
That
of
works. That
people to
is.
be
That
one
is.
on.
Yeah, but like I said, I have some ideas, so we'll chat.
Okay, cool. Because
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I mean, I do actually want to give away some shit too, though. Like
bro,
not just.
I don't know if people are ready for a one-on-one with you because, dude, if you're asking for a one-on-one with Iz, he's gonna give it to you real and straight. So you better be ready for that.
That is true.
Dr. Ted, that's true. Like I think it was back in April. Bob had been streaming for a couple of months and we did a meet at the mods thing on a Saturday. There were three of us that went in and Bob basically like asked us a bunch of questions for I don't know, it was like 2 hours. And then we had game night afterwards and actually recorded it because it's gone now off
Did
of his
you?
Twitch. But I was thinking about that the other day. That would be so interesting to go back and listen to Deb. 2 months into her trading journey, like what was I saying? Yeah, that would be. I'll have to go back and listen to it sometime.
So
Yeah,
when you say support, you mean
yeah. No, this one though, it was like I said, it was Bob asking us questions like, how did we get into trading? What were we having success with, and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And I was literally 2 months into trading at that point. So, yeah, that would be interesting to go back and listen to. But yeah, it was kind of cool, Stockatet. I think for you guys to, you know, put voices to the names that you saw in chat all the time and that kind of stuff. It was, and we had a really good time. It was a lot of fun.
Good idea, Deb. I like it.
Okay. All right. We'll run it by the power that bees and see if we can make that happen.
Nice.
I think you just kind of do it.
Yeah, just do it. Say, hey, this is what I did. Ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah, Deb, you're a leader. Like, what? Don't you have the power to just do it?
I mean, we always run everything by Bob, but even
Yeah.
still, it's like Bob just wants consistency. Like if it's something you're gonna do, he just wants you to do it.
Yeah. 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 The biggest thing was just to figure out like what platform would be best. Like, I mean, I could ask Bob to use his Twitch stream to do it. So they'd be recorded. We could just have it, in live chat where maybe Ivan records it for us and, we've got a channel we can put them in or, we do it out on live YouTube or something. I don't know.
Or you
Like I
could
said, I'm
just
not,
do like a trader profile and it be like just a document that sits in a channel that if they're like, who are these people on voice? They could click on this and be like, oh, here's the
well, and
channel.
but that's a good idea. Like if we did a voice, interview kind of thing, like we could go back and just glean, hot points for each person, to have like, to have a document in our find us, or, who are they? So people could go kind of read, like, not really a bio, like, here's our LinkedIn on, Real Ones leaders. But yeah, it's kind of a cool idea too.
Here's our LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some things too. At least for a short amount of time for all the people that are wanting the one-on-ones and shit. I mean, 10 minutes one-on-one is just not gonna do a lot of people
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of good. So I'm almost wondering if I should just like choose a couple people and form like a study group for a few weeks or something, or like do a bunch of live trades and start up doing more of that on YouTube. Uh, I don't know. I'm working on it. I already got a lot going on, but I definitely want to focus more on the people that are taking this really serious and put more effort towards them. It's really easy for me to get really sidetracked. Like, here, I'm gonna share my screen. I want you guys to look at this so that you know that I'm not just like ignoring people, okay? I think this is the right monitor. Can you guys like see my Discord window right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are all my message requests. Okay, I'll let you guys get in here.
Hey, do not show my DMs in there now. Like,
Those face reveals.
I'll, I'll let some people get in here. Look at the shit, man.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, so it's like, I promise you, I'm not just like ignoring people. There's just so many fucking people. And like they're just the ones that like I've tried to reply to, you know what I mean?
and that's just on Twitter.
And
Like,
this is just Twitter, man. Like
yeah,
Discord is the same fucking thing. So like
yeah.
I promise you guys, I'm not just it's a lot, you know? It's really easy for me to get distracted from the people that are really putting in the work, and that's kind of why I was doing this little giveaway thing a little different, because I want to be there for the people. Because here's the thing, it's like, you know, if somebody's just starting out, like, yeah, giving them some kind of direction I think is fine, but uh, they're not gonna understand half the shit that I have to put down anyway. You know what I mean? And so it's those people that are like right on the fucking, cuff of success, like right there. You know what I mean? Like those are the people I want to work with and push them over to the next level. Um, and I want to be here for everybody, but me personally, like I really want to be there for the people that are actually taking this extremely serious, because those are the ones that are gonna make it.
All right. Well,
It
meet
just
me
is
in
what it
voice
is.
after, and I'm gonna tell you my idea. And
Okay. Oh, the
okay.
last king is streaming. He's like, oh shit.
Word of
Anyway,
advice. Word of advice, if you do get a one-on-one with Thiz, or you reach out to somebody else, like, come into that session knowing exactly what you want to ask and have the material
Yep.
to support it ready to go. Like, don't make Thiz or somebody just ramble or decide what to tell you. Like, you need to come in prepared and know what you want to
I
get out
think
of
the
them.
most important things to note is like, what are what are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? What do you think is holding you back? You know what I mean?
And
Um,
I will say,
what kind of trader are you? Stuff like that.
yeah, when Bob was streaming, he did two different sessions of small group, where people had signed up or won something that they went in. And he was so frustrated because nobody came in prepared. Nobody had charts. Nobody really had questions. They came in, just basically wanting that small group one on one time, with him, and expecting him to just have something prepared. And that was not the idea of it. And he stopped doing it after that because it really was, he's
Yeah. I
so
mean,
busy, and it was really just kind of a waste of his time.
I feel like I'm at that point where it's like I will talk to everyone, but I can definitely tell who has the right mindset, and I'll try and bring everybody to their right mindset as a whole. But the ones like it's pretty easy to tell like the ones who are like ready for certain knowledge or like asking the right question or like I don't know, just have that right mentality about things and pushing them on forward. And until people get there, it's kind of like it just takes a little bit more time. A lot of
Okay,
people
so
are
we
always like, "What do I need to do? What do I need to study?" But like a lot of it simply is just being there and picking things up as you go with screen time.
yeah, and one of my biggest suggestions again is just find there's so many people in real ones putting out free education. Find somebody whose style you resonate with and focus on that. For me, there's too much like for me to just
Mm.
focus and try to glean on everybody. And there's people outside of real ones that I follow and try to keep up with what they're saying and teaching. It gets to be too much, and um, Bob likes to say, don't, what is it? Don't be a master of none, or you're a, I don't know the saying,
Jack of
but
all trades,
Don't
master
be a
of none.
jack of all trades and a
jack of all
master of
trades, a
none.
master of
Yeah.
none. Yeah, he says that to me all the time, and there's truth in that. So, you
It's
know,
funny. I used to say it to her all the time.
oh, really, yeah.
About
So
me, yeah.
yeah, so you got Mikey doing his 5 minute flags. Thiz is the short king as well. Everybody does a lot of things. More than one thing. But I think of like Thiz is the person I would love to emulate on learning to short. Mike is the person I would love to emulate on learning 5 minute flags. It's find that thing that person does well and try to focus on that a little bit as opposed to all of it. Like if you're new, I mean, I still consider myself very new. Like I've less than a year trying to do this and work full time. Like there's so much more I want to learn, and I'm just having to kind of cut back and say like I can't learn it all at the same time.
And put in the effort to go back and see what these guys have already put out. Like, don't go to Mikey and ask him the stuff that he's said 10 times on his Twitch streams
Hmm.
already.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
just wasting their time.
Yeah, Diz, you've got some stuff. I mean, and Ivan, our mod, has been recording a ton of this stuff. There's a whole bunch of recordings out there. Yeah.
The other thing too is you don't need this to tell you the basics. Like there are so many people that can give you the answers to some of the early knowledge stuff. Like, make sure you're ready to, go to Thiz with the stuff that you want to ask. Like if Jumanji's can answer a question for you, like that dude doesn't have 100 DMs, I guarantee you,
And honestly, it's one of the things that I love the most about our community is you've got a lot of people who, are still fairly new, but they're willing to answer questions. I get DMs every day, people asking me stuff, and sometimes I'm blown away by that. I'm like, why are they asking me? Like I'm new. Like, I'm no expert on this stuff. But I'm happy to share the things that are working for me, and there's two different people that I talked to a few months ago who were really struggling. I gave them some of my truths, some of my, things work for me. And those people are now killing it and they're out there helping other people. I see them in chat answering questions, saying, things that are working for them now. That's the whole idea of all of this. Pay it forward, let it grow. It's like a geometric progression. If this helps 10 people and those 10 people each go out and help 10 more people, I mean, we're taking over the world. That's it.
We're taking over the world.
The world.
you heard it here first.
Let's go.
FBI, open up.
We need Mikey right now to rub his hands together.
Did we just hear Fappy in here?
Yeah, you did.
Real ones
Hey,
assemble!
how you feeling, fam?
Dude, I feel like trash.
Sound like
Wow.
trash,
Sound
bro.
like trash, dude. No.
I'm on my phone right now too, so that probably doesn't help.
You're like, hey, brother.
Yeah, I might need to turn Pappy's volume down just a little bit. It's kind of making my floor shake. So yeah.
Pappy coming through the subwoofers. All right. Well, I just wanted to hop in and say hi, guys. I don't
Yeah,
wanna.
we've been going like an hour and 40 minutes. So again, this was awesome for BOFO to jump in and do an impromptu little session. Hopefully it was good. And look how many people showed up and stayed. Like really cool, really awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun.
But you guys go enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Do something fun. Like if you want to study, study some. But it's something that I really, really talked to myself about on Friday. I was like, the last 2 months, I have not had a single weekend where I didn't just go full tilt between personal stuff and work and trying to catch up on studying and all of that. And I was like, this weekend, I'm just going to not do it. I'm just going to unplug a little bit and played a whole bunch of League yesterday. That was fun. Um, but keep that mental capital strong. Do it,
Yeah.
guys.
I
You
think
guys have a
I
great day.
I think I did record this, so
Too.
I'll ask Ivan about posting it if you think that's helpful to have somewhere, Deb.
Yeah, a lot of people always ask, it's hard to tell on the voice recordings how many people go back and watch them later, but we know definitely from the YouTube videos and the Twitch streams and stuff that people are definitely going back and watching and listening, which is really cool.
Okay, cool. Um, I'll ask him about saving it then. Okay, guys. Good sesh. Glad you're able to jump in. We'll catch you tomorrow morning for pre-market.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Later.